Well, hello and welcome to our interview here today with the ICF and Don Whittle, who we're just thrilled to have joining us today. My name is Cheryl James. I am an admissions coach here at iPEC, and just really delighted that you can all be joining us today. And before I formally introduce Don, what I'd love to do is just share with you a few logistics. We are wondering if you can hear us. So if anybody would be kind enough to type in the chat box that you can actually hear us. Let us know where you're from. We get people that are joining us from all over the world. That would be really, really helpful. There's no set agenda for this interview today. We want to know what's on your hearts and minds. Just ask the questions that you'd like to hear from Don regarding the ICF, and we'll be happy to get to as many questions as we can. The way that you can submit your questions is if you're joining us from Zoom, please type in the Q&A box that you can actually, the questions, and we'll see them there. If you're joining us from Facebook, we ask that you put that in the Q&A, the chat box there, and we will get those over here as well, and we'll be able to answer all your questions. So I see that Lisa's joining us from Long Island, and she can hear us, so that's good. Don, we have one listener, so that's good. We're on our way. It's all good. I can see people are hopping on now, but we want to make sure that you can actually hear us and that you can see us. So thank you for that. And what we're going to do is, and I see we have some people from Connecticut. Lisa just asked if she has us all to herself. I'm sorry, Lisa. No, there are going to be about 150 people on this interview with Don. But thank you so much for joining us. So what I would like to do now is introduce you to Don Whittle, who is the International Coach Federation, better known as the ICF. He is the membership director, and he has been with the ICF since 2007. And prior to that, I always love to hear where people come from. Prior to that, he was with the United States Committee for the Olympics. And he used to support athletes by investing in their training to research and what their potential was at the Olympic Games. So what a cool background you have. But we're going to learn today more about your experience with the ICF and why that might be important to you out there that are listening to see as you're considering if you're going to become a certified coach. I'm sure you have lots of questions about the ICF and how it works. So let's get started. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop any questions in the Q&A or on Facebook as well in the comment section, and we will be able to answer those. I see we have a first question coming in from Rhonda that says, what is the International Coach Federation? So Don, If you'd like to answer that, that would be great. It's probably a really good place to start.
Yeah, fantastic. So I'm Don Whittle, membership director here at the I almost said the International Olympic Committee because we were just talking about the Olympics. Holy moly. The International Coach Federation. Been here about 12 and a half years. Really love it. Who are we and what are we? We're actually celebrating 25 years in existence this year. We are the premier coaching association for professional coaches worldwide. ICF is in the business, if you will, of membership, credentialing. We do have a research arm and just a lot of great support for the overall mission of ICF, and that is to really make a difference to a thriving society with coaches. And I think I did mention, I may not have mentioned it. We have 35,000 members in about 140 countries worldwide. We have a credentialing program that is about 30,000 credential holders worldwide in just about as many countries. Global board of directors here that kind of governs everything we do. And we are, again, the Association for Coaches And we are based out of Lexington, Kentucky, USA. So really proud of that. And I also want to say something, because as I've said, I've been a long time staff member, and there are a number of us on the staff who've been here a number of years, equal to my tenure and a little bit longer, and really committed to seeing ICF really just get to the next level. And I believe we're there right now, in terms of being able to support coaches globally. So that's kind of it in a nutshell.
That's awesome. That's such a great answer. Thank you. And
Yeah.
it's amazing when you think about the breadth and how many countries you're in and the representation. This is not just some, small federation. You are global, and you guys have been around for a long time and do a lot of great work in the coaching industry, making sure that people are meeting standards, and coach training programs really, to help sift through this, because, we get questions on a day-to-day basis, why this program, why that program, and you do a lot of great work in helping people figure that out. So, one of the questions that we have coming in is, what is the difference between the ICF and IPEC coaching? So
I'll let you go with iPEC coaching here now. Yeah.
So we are a school, so we actually provide the training. And there are lots of different training opportunities out there, but our role is to help train coaches to become certified professional coaches. So, there's a difference between saying, I've got a lot of great life experience, I've been, in corporate for 30 years and I've mentored a lot of people, I think I'm going to hang my shingle out. There's a lot of difference between that and being able to say, I'm a certified professional coach. And so what iPEC does is we offer a process and methodology to help you get certified, to have the tools to become the best coach you can be. And the ICF,
And so
on to you, Don.
what we are is primarily, other than a membership in a credentialing organization, we are this the association that's created the standards for the coaching profession, meaning we accredit coach training programs that meet our standards, and that is they have to have a rigorous program, and all their training has to adhere to the 11 core competencies and code of ethics, and also meet our definition of coaching. So really, that's a big part of who we are. And boy, we've just had a lot of volunteer work over the years to ensure that our standards are at the highest level. And that also goes for our credentials, which there's a lot of rigor that goes into that to make them really defensible in terms of being a credential for the profession worldwide and recognized as such.
Love it. Yeah, I love it. So I hope that answers the difference. One, we offer the coaching, and the other just kind of oversees, right? And make sure that programs are meeting standards and such. We just posted in the chat where you can learn a little bit more about that question. And so you feel free to click on that and learn a little bit more. So another question that we're getting is, can you tell me, what does accredited mean? What does it mean that, you get this accreditation? Can you talk to that, Don?
Yeah, so accredited means that your program is recognized as ICF accredited, meaning its training meets our standards, like I said, the core competencies, code of ethics, and our definition of coaching. And then there's some different designations. Accredited really in this case is a category, if you will, of a training program. And if you go to, actually, I'll let you talk a little bit more about your offerings in terms of your programs. But what we do is we accredit the programs, and iPEC has one of the most comprehensive and well-rounded programs out there. It's called a accredited coach training program. It's a designation by ICF, which means that they've done mentoring, they've done students are doing coaching with each other in there, practicing their coaching skills. Also, there's an examination process, and I'm really probably keeping this at a really short and condensed level, because I know that Cheryl could tell you much more that you guys do when you're coaching. I'm sorry, when you're going through the training programs. But that's what we do in terms of accrediting those programs, and we recognize IPEC is one of our one of our best run training programs worldwide, and that's why they received that designation.
Thank you. No, I think that's really, really well said, and the comprehensiveness. And I think that we appreciate that endorsement because, there are so many choices out there, right? And if you're looking to get a little bit more specific on IPEC's program, because I know a couple of you are writing in, I'm considering IPEC versus another training program, please feel free to call in, and you can schedule time with an admissions coach like myself. You can ask for me if you want, or you can speak to any one of our admissions coaches, and we can tell you specifically, why we think our program is different from the other programs out there. But in an attempt to really utilize Don's time best, let's keep our questions to really more about the ICF and how that works and what it might mean for you. One question that's coming in from a gentleman named Mike said, I understand that there's local ICF chapters. What's the benefit of joining a local chapter?
So there is a real benefit. We call the chapters kind of the local face of ICF wherever they are in the world. And I know there's a number of them nationally, and I want to say 56, and that's probably for North America. It's just a place where people can come in and network and take advantage of professional development that's offered. As I alluded to our credential, we have 3 different levels of credential, and what happens at the chapter level is there's a lot of presentations, and there's continuing education units awarded for presentations that you can use to renew your credential. And I think one of the most important things that chapters do is really they are the community outreach. They do a lot of great outreach to the community to educate not only businesses but individuals as to what coaching is and our definition of coaching and what that means.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I do think that, like you mentioned, there's that continuing education, but that networking is just so amazing. And to be able to connect with other coaches that are in a geographic location near you, be able to share best practices, talk about ideas and brainstorm. It's a great, great opportunity to connect with more coaches, people that are in the same industry. And so there's just a lot of value in that. Somebody's asking, Robin's asking about, you had mentioned 3 different levels of credentialing, and just wanted to know from a high level, if you want to speak to that a bit, that would be helpful.
Sure, I will. So 3 different credentialing levels. And the first is an associate level certified coach. And then there's PCC, which is professional certified coach, and then MCC, which is master certified coach. And so every one of them has a different set of requirements. And I will say this, if you do complete what I explained before is an accredited program such as IPEC, the process by which you would apply becomes much more efficient and effective. It's a real turnkey, if you will, and I know that translates probably just in the US. Turnkey process where it's much simpler to apply for a credential. But I would have you take a look at this if you're really interested. You can go to coachfederation.org, and there's some tabs up there for those 3 credentials and what the requirements are, because there are requirements in terms of having completed coach training program such as IPEC, and also coaching experience, gaining coaching experience or client hours, as well as completing an online coach knowledge assessment, which is an examination in addition to the IPEC examination. So I'll leave it right there.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. And I think you're right that it's really nice to be able to see your website does a really nice job of outlining, what are the specifics that need to be done at those different levels and different levels of experience, right? So you can take a peek at that. I know that at the ACC level, it means you have 100 paid client hours of experience. And then the PCC is 500 and the MCC is 2,500. And what's nice is if you want to look at the site, it will give you more specifics on what needs to be done for the credentialing at each level. So that's a great question, and we appreciate that. One person, and Mike just wrote in and said, I've been coaching forever. Can I count those hours before I actually join an accredited coach training program? Do those hours count?
Yeah, unfortunately not. The hours would only count from the start of your coach training program. So that's just it was a policy that came down a number of years ago, but just want to be able to convey that.
Yeah, and I think that makes a lot of sense because, if you think about it, somebody could be calling themselves a coach and could be doing it really, really well. But then there are others that might be coaching and not really coaching at all, right? They might be mentoring or they might be consulting. And so until I'm sure the ICF feels comfortable that you're in a program that's really teaching you what coaching means, it would be hard to count those hours, right? I mean, I would think that that's part of the rationale behind it. So some people are saying, another question that we're getting is, what's the impact of having that extra ICF accreditation? What do you feel is the impact on
well, I will say, so ICF does a number of, we've done a number of global studies on the profession, and our most recent, which is going to be released a little bit later this year, it's the Global Coaching Study, which really just covers everything about coaches worldwide and what they're earning and how many years of experience and what that translates into in terms of earning power. A lot of great information and cuts, internal coaching, what's happening with internal coaching, external coaching, all these different niche areas that are out there. And why, I'm sorry, I want to get to the actual, what was the question? I felt like I was
just
on
the impact of having that extra credential. So if I'm an ACC or I'm a PCC, yeah.
That's what I was, and so in terms of all those reports, we did a global consumer awareness study. It was published in 2017, and what we found out was 66%, so about 2/3 of the world that we had surveyed, and we did this in a real scientific method where we had people responding by country through these groups. But 2/3 of the world were aware of how we define coaching, coaching. And even more so when you broke out by demographic group, you had millennials being the number one group that completely understands coaching, not only understands it, but also understands there's a certification credentialing component of it. And that's a big differentiator in terms of having something like that as they go forward. And I will say this because I'm a longtime attendee at this really large HR association called SHRM, and I'm always dialed in to hear all about HR directors and such saying that more and more people are coming in, younger people are coming into jobs, and during the interview process are saying, am I going to get coached? I'm going to get coached, right? And it seems to be like a negotiating chip as well in this whole process. So there's a real value of having a credential, and I will say globally, and this is documented there, more and more people worldwide have an understanding of what the ICF credential is. And by the way, one more little side piece, I think we're going to repeat that study again next year. So that would come out in 2021. So more on that one later in terms of the awareness of coaching and the credential.
That's awesome. It's nice to know that there will be an updated study as well, because I know people are always interested in
always.
what's been looked at recently? What's the
No
most recent
question.
study that's been done on that? So that's great to know that that's going to be updated as well. Um,
Absolutely.
Barbara's asking, do the coaching hours with fellow peers count towards the ICF's requirement on how many coaching hours that you need?
So they would count provided they're not part of the curriculum. So if you're taking coach training at IPEC and there's coaching as part of the curriculum within the four walls, you could not count those hours. Now, outside of the four walls and the curriculum and what you're doing as part of the IPEC training, yes, you could count those hours. If you have clients or you're doing peer coaching, which also counts, I'm sorry, bartered coaching. So we do a peer coaching program in which you can get lined up with another coach to barter coach and count those hours as paid hours. But that's the stipulation there, is that it has to be outside of your training program for those to count.
Yeah, that's a great designation or a great distinction to make. And
Mm-hmm.
so I know when we talk about our program in particular, where each week you're coaching somebody and somebody's coaching you, those are those bartered hours. And I know a certain number, I believe it's up to 20 hours count towards that ACC, which is nice. You know, you don't have to get additional, those count towards those 100 hours. So that's great. We have another question coming in from Rajan that says, can I get the ICF credential remotely, or is it only in person?
So yes, you can, excuse me, apply for the ICF credential on a remote basis. As a matter of fact, people do every day. Now, I'm not going to answer the question if you're talking about training through IPEC, because there may be some other requirements there.
Perfect. So just know that for getting the ICF credential, there is a possibility to do it remotely, and people do it all the time. So that's great. This is an interesting question. I have not been asked this one. I'll be interested to see if you've ever been asked this one, Don, because I know you've done a bunch of these interviews with us. But Lisa's asking, what's the percentage rate of passing the ICF test? So the assessment, the knowledge assessment that you do, for people that come from IPEC versus other training coach programs. Any idea?
So I wouldn't know that, but however, I would expect a much higher pass rate among programs such as IPEC, because I know how good they are and how many members they produce. You know, as ICF members, and those are the vast majority, without question, are going through the credentialing process. And I think the average, and don't quote me on this, it's somewhere in the 70th percentile, somewhere 77% or so that pass on the first time. So
that's awesome. That's great. Barbara is asking, how is coaching ability assessed by the ICF?
So that's a little bit of a layered question, and I would say if you're taking a program like IPEC, you are being assessed within the training program in terms of your coaching ability. And don't let me speak for you, Cheryl. I want you to
yeah, that's spot on though. Keep going.
stipulate that.
Yeah.
However, if for some reason you are let's say you don't complete the entire accredited program offered by IPEC, and I don't really want to go down too far into this because it gets too detailed. But if you don't complete the entire program, and let's say you stop short, but you still have enough hours to go and apply for the ACC credential, there will be a component in the requirements where you have to take a performance evaluation, and it's 20 minutes to 59 minutes or 60 minutes exactly, no more, in which that's what we call a performance evaluation, which is reviewed by assessors here, trained assessors, who will evaluate your coaching.
Perfect.
And that's all part of the requirement.
Perfect. And you know, you're right. Actually, just to elaborate on that, Don, when you said I'm not sure quite with iPEC, we do have the mentor coaches that you're working with on a monthly basis that are making sure that your skills are where they need to be. And then at the end of the program, you submit a recording of one of your coaching sessions. And then we have examiners that are making sure that you're using the tools and techniques as you've been trained. So when you have that iPEC credential, the ICF knows that we have been monitoring that level of coaching proficiency, if you will. So that is a great question. Let's see what other questions are coming in here. Does one have to form an LLC to perform external coaching? I know that's not a real specific question towards Don with the ICF, but that's something you can talk to your admissions coach about. But no, you don't have to have an LLC to be a coach. There are lots of different ways to set up your business, if you will, a sole proprietor, LLC, S Corps. There's all kinds of things out there. So if you have questions about that, ask your admissions coach, because there are lots of different things that we can address and topics we can address on that. Let's see what else. Specific questions. I'm getting some questions here that are specific to the iPEC Coach Training Program. And again, happy to answer those questions about our program specifically, but I want to be respectful of Don's time and make sure that we're using his time to answer the questions really regarding the ICF. One question that's coming in from Bob says, is there an equivalent, coach training, other designation that I can get other than the ICF's accreditation? Anything that you can speak to on that?
So I'm assuming you're asking if there are other credentials that are available out there from other associations, and I would say yes.
And then the follow-up was that why the ICF? Why should we get it?
Because without question, we're the ones that are most recognizable worldwide, hands down. We're peerless there, and I will put the stake in the ground on that.
And it's interesting that you said that, and I can absolutely agree with you. I talk to people all over the world, and when I say that we're accredited by the ICF, everybody goes, "Oh, okay, great." It's not like, well, what's the ICF? Everybody, from no matter where I chat with people across the world, they all know the ICF. So that's great, and it's awesome to have that credential behind you, knowing that that is something that's recognized globally, not just here in the U.S. Another question is coming in from Kim. She's asking about, is there continuing education requhairements to keep that credential current, to keep your ICF credential current?
So every 3 years, whatever credential level you are at is the start period, where you've got a 3-year window to renew that credential, and there is a requirement of 40 hours of continuing education units, 24 of which are in what we call core competencies, and the other are in resource development. And I will say, I'll stop there. So yeah.
and again, without it becoming too granular or too specific, I'm sure that is also listed on the site, right?
It is, absolutely, yes.
And I think that there's value in that, because what the ICF, I'm sure, is wanting to make sure that, coaches are staying current and offering the best that they can offer, right? So continuing education and professional development is always a good thing. So that's great. I'm looking to see what else there. We are having questions. We've answered some of these. One of the questions that's coming in is, how do I get in touch with the ICF? And I think you mentioned the site, but if you could just reiterate
the
site again, that would be great. And we can put it.
Coach Federation, one word, .org.
Great. And
I will say this, if I can, Cheryl, that as long as you're enrolled in an ICF accredited coach training program, and in this case, I'm going to say iPEC because I'm on with them and they're fantastic, you can start the day of your enrollment, and you can join ICF the day of your enrollment. So just want to put that out.
That's great, because there was another question that said, can I join the ICF before, right? And so can they join without having been in a program?
No, you actually have to be at least enrolled in a program.
Perfect.
So, yeah.
Perfect. So you answered that question. It's like you read their minds. You could see that.
Yeah.
You can see that that question was from Rajan. Thank you. And any other questions? I know we've done some. Um, how does one submit their hours to the ICF, their coach training hours to the ICF? Somebody's asking.
So there's a whole process. It's an online application in which you upload all your requirements, and you don't actually even have to purchase the credential until you've got it all done and are ready to start and hit go, if you will. But that's all on our site, and you can take a look. Again, coachfederation.org. 3 credentials are there under ICF credentialing or credential, and you can just look and see what's there.
Perfect. One of our international friends, Beranger, is asking, is there an active ICF community? How would you speak to that?
So I'm not sure what that means. I see. So again, there's 140 chapters around the world in which you would be able to connect. Communities, that's a little bit of a broad term. So we have communities of practice that are specialized niche areas of coaching that meet quarterly with subject matter experts being brought in every quarter to present. And of course, we've got a huge presence, probably not as big as, no, we probably are close to iPEC. I'm joking here. On social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and really there's a lot of content, great content that goes up there all the time. I'm really proud of the work that's been done there.
Mm-hmm. And then, like you had mentioned previously, even with the local chapters, there's those community efforts as well. So it's a great organization. And if you're thinking about becoming a certified professional coach, such a great way to network with other people and be involved in an organization that just has so many resources. And Lisa's asking, what are the benefits of membership in the ICF for a coach or a coach trainee? Can you speak to some of the benefits?
Sure. I'd say none bigger than the ability to apply for a credential and get a large discount, because we want to see all of our members as credential members as well. And if you are a credentialed member, you would be on the Credential Coach Finder, which is an online listing where there's businesses and end users coming and looking at that on a daily basis. And also the chapter component is huge. You have the ability to affiliate with an ICF chapter, and then we just have a lot of different tools and resources that you can access. One of which I mentioned, we have a lot of research and that you can access, at least as a member, the executive summaries of those and read those, as well as we also have, a lot of tools and toolkits, and you have the ability to have the logo on your website or email signature. And we just have sample coaching agreements. There's just a chock full of a lot of great marketing ideas there and things you can do to promote your business. And we have a lot of events. Last year we had a global conference. It was called Converge. It was in Prague. Just incredible gathering of folks from all over the world. We're going to do that again next year, probably in the United States. I'm going to knock on wood. And we also have a number of virtual events later this year. We're going to have what's called an advance, which is the science of coaching. And it's going to take place over a month or so's time and have just a lot of great subject matter experts talking and presenting on areas of coaching science. And one last plug here, and that is we have a business development series going on right now. Oh my gosh, I can't say enough about it. So proud of these guys who are putting this on. And we do it every other year, and it's actually ongoing right now. And all of our content that's out there, and I miss one, the communities of practice. I know I referenced them, but we have a learning management part of our website where you can go and access a lot of this on demand as members for free. And it's just a great way to keep up with what's going on in the profession.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can tell based on Don's response, there's a lot of
Yeah,
resources
there's a lot.
that are available, which is great because especially whether you're new and starting off as a coach and trying to develop your practice or somebody that's been in this for a while, there's so many resources that continually get updated that are at your disposal. And these networking events and the chapters, there's just so much benefit in joining and being connected and having more resources at your disposal, no matter where you're at. As far as experienced in your coaching practice. So that's great. Great answer. Thank you for that. I guess we are running up here at the end of our time together. Is there anything you want to just end with, Don? I'd leave you with the parting thoughts. If there's anything that comes to mind, anything that you would like to just share with the group as parting thoughts.
Yeah, I would. One of the things I write people when they ask me, why should I be a member? And I cover things that I just referenced here a minute ago in terms of member benefits. But it's more deeper than that. This whole coaching community and what's going on a global basis, though I don't need to even say the world is changing. It is changing at rapid speed. And I think there is such a place for coaching right now. And I've witnessed a lot of it over the past 12 and a half years being here, of where we've gone in terms of not only the membership and the credentialing, that aside, it's just where coaching has evolved to, where the recognition of it and the appreciation and what coaching holds for the future. It is unlimited and it is borderless, and it is, I like to say, the coaching, and I'm not going to use that term, but the evolution is here. I'm not going to call it the revolution because that has bad implications. It is here, and it is not by any means going anywhere. It is only growing, and it's to me, it's a real exciting time to be a coach, and the real necessity for more coaches to be out there in all walks of life is just, it's becoming readily more and more apparent.
Yeah, I totally agree with you that the future has never been so bright. We get asked all the time, is this oversaturated? This is a billion-dollar industry that is growing by leaps and bounds, and really important to not only do this right if you want to be in this industry, but to be part of an organization like the ICF. There's just so much value in that and the resources and that are offered. So we sure appreciate you answering questions here today, Don. It's a pleasure learning more about the ICF from your perspective. And if you want to ask any additional questions or learn more about the ICF, please feel free to go on to their site, as Don shared with you. If you were looking to get any more answers on iPEC's coaching program, feel free to call, and we've put it in the chat here. You can ask for a session with one of our admissions coaches like myself, and we'll get those questions answered for you. But I can't thank you enough for taking the time to join us today. Thank you so much, Don, for all of your insights. We really appreciate that. And I just thank everybody for your participation and your thoughtful questions. We really appreciate you taking the time to join us today and learn a little bit more about the wonderful International Coach Federation. So thank you all for your participation, and many thanks to you, Don.
Thanks, Cheryl. Thanks, everyone. Have a good day.
Have a good day, all. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.